Thank you, Dirk. I thank our eminent speakers for generously giving their time to help us address the issues raised in the keynotes and also the topic announced in the program with the changes that you mentioned. We are very privileged to have His Excellency Lino Barañao. He is the Minister of Science, Technology and Productive Innovation in Argentina. And as you might have noticed in his short biography, he has an extensive career as a scientific researcher in Argentina, the United States and Germany, specializing in cell biology, physiology of reproduction and animal biotechnology. He was also president of the National Agency for Scientific and Technological Promotion. Your Excellency. And we look forward to robust debate from the audience as well.
Okay, and it'll be a short and brief poll for you, but I'm sure it's going to be an interesting input. The question is, do we need a global bioeconomy platform? What do you think? And if so, you have one choice. Yes, we need one, a formal one, or yes, we need one, but rather informal. Informal would be a summit like this, a conference, a get-together, or no, we don't need one at all. Please choose what your opinion is. You have 30 seconds, and then we show your input to our panelists and see what they make of it. Off you go. And I can see the results already. Can we share it with the rest of the world? Is that possible? Yes. And right now, we also come up to 100%, which is good news, because I was informed yesterday that one of the polls in total came up to a participation of something like 150%, which is interesting, only possible in the world of bioeconomy, probably. But I think this one, okay. The longer we wait, it's a balance between formal and informal. But definitely, yes, we need a platform, and right now I'd say a formal one is the preference. So with this, I hand over to our panel.
Thank you very much. I think that's an interesting input into the debate. So let me first briefly introduce the first round of discussion. I think we've heard already early this morning about some of the issues why international collaboration may be important. I think we heard about research and innovation as something which can help to drive down the cost of biotechnology, make it more accessible, really move it forward. We've had a lot of discussion already. We heard about trade and investment, why there are issues which we may need to tackle. There are issues around standards and regulation, which may be important to look at and work on together. There are issues around the broader policy environment, which may need to be worked on, where still, I think, in many countries there are issues around how well are we able to really provide a long-term, a predictable, sustainable environment. There are issues around fossil fuel subsidies, which are, of course, still affecting the market. There are links to global agendas, which were already raised by the gentleman from the Global Green Growth Institute. There are issues around indicators, which were raised by the FAO as being important, which we need to work on and trying to measure. There are issues around governance, so there are many different topics where you might say, well, we need to work together on some of these issues. And obviously, always there is a role for dialogue, for partnerships, and for collaboration in general. So the question we have to our panelists is really like, well, how can we make this work? How can we facilitate global cooperation on bioeconomy? And also, what are some of the fora where we can make that happen? And obviously, some are already around the table here, but where can we make this happen? So that's the question I have to each of you. We'll give you about 4 minutes each, maximum, really, to try and keep it short, so we also have some time later for input from the audience. Mr. Barañao, please.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I guess the first issue is whether we can compatibilize or harmonize the expectation each country has in terms of the bioeconomy. We have different goals, For instance, in case of Argentina, our main goal is to use bioeconomy to promote inclusive innovation. We have a different view of inclusive innovation than the OECD has. Our idea is to develop innovations or technology that will generate jobs. We think that Argentina has huge opportunity for the development of bioeconomy. We have all the right colors for that. We have the green, the highly effective agriculture system. We are one of the countries that has a greatest surplus. We can provide food for 400 million people, and we are only 40 million people. We have the red, we have the pharmaceutical biotechnology. We have more than 250 biotech companies, all of them with products in the market and exporting to foreign markets. We have the blue, the untapped resources in the Argentinian sea. And we also have the gray matter. We have the human resources. We have 2 Nobel Prize awardees in the biomedical sciences and a generation of scientists which not only publish the best papers, but they found new companies. So the idea is to promote investment in Argentina. And we are identifying several value chains, several products which have potential markets abroad. So for us, what is essential is to have regulation in terms of trade and investment. Our main concern is to avoid artificial or distortional trade policies. And so in that context, I think international collaboration is essential. And the other aspect is that we are testing a new scheme to promote investment in Argentina. We developed a program called BAR, B.AR, that is Bioeconomy Argentinian Program for Europe. The idea is to establish a partnership between private investors, private companies from Europe and Argentinian counterparts. And our ministry provides technical advice to our local companies and extra funding to reach the technological level required to access foreign markets. So we are testing this experiment, which seems to be successful so far and can be extrapolated to other countries.
And where do you see any particular fora where this discussion needs to happen? Would you like to see this global platform?
We think that if we have a global platform, we can compatibilize these experiences or extrapolate these experiences. And we have an international setup that will allow developing countries to enter the international markets. So it will be essential for us.
Thank you very much. We'll move to Minister Granizo. Same question to you. You're from the same continent, but of course, Ecuador is in a different context, has a different context. How do you see this issue? Where do you see the need for collaboration and how we can make this happen?
Well, thank you first for this invitation. We in Ecuador consider that we need 4 pillars for the development of bioeconomy. One is conservation. The second one is research and innovation. The third one is investments. And the fourth one is markets. Probably in terms of conservation, we have done our homework. We have more or less 20 to 30% of the country under some kind of conservation, national system of protected areas, etc. Why is so important this for bioeconomy? Because we need to have the raw material for bioeconomy well conserved. In terms of research, is probably the pillar in which we need more support and collaboration, because even being a mega diverse country, we probably know less than 5% of our biodiversity. So research and innovation is something that we need, and we need collaboration for that. Same thing as investments. I mean, investments could come from outside the country in public-private partnerships or so on. And finally, markets, but not only the possibility of allocate our products in international markets, but also in terms of what the last speaker presented in terms of fair trade for the products that can be produced through bioeconomy. So probably those are the most important issues in which we need collaboration. The other thing is that the concept of bioeconomy in Ecuador started in the Ministry of Environment. And it has been very hard to convince the other ministries to get into this idea. We have been successful, but what we need is how to demonstrate and to prove with numbers that bioeconomy could be an alternative for the use of oil as main source of income for the country, or mining. So that's another issue in which we probably will need some support and collaboration.
And if you would have responded to the poll which we just saw on a global platform, what would have been your reply?
A global platform is absolutely important. The discussion is if it's formal or informal. That's something that we need to discuss a little bit more.
Sure. Thank you very much. So thank you, and we move to Minister Masinche from Thailand, a different part of the world, similar issues. I also know you were Minister of Commerce in Thailand before, so I would also be interested from the trade perspective what you would like to add to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing with what we call the tragedy of the global commons. As we just mentioned yesterday, a lot of people talking about the climate change, talking about the resource scarcity, talking about the resource price volatilities. All of these are about the global commons. So I think, to survive and thrive in the 21st century, we need what we call the global bioeconomy governance. I think, and also the action agenda to deal with this kind of global commons. So I think about 4 things. The first thing is about, we need to setting up the global common goals, which comprise like, 6.
Thank you. I'm afraid we won't take any more because we are running a little bit out of time. Just say on the second question, which was raised on bioeconomy and definitions, I think this is something that international organizations working together with national organizations will need to pick up because, of course, we need to try and define some of these things a little bit more clearly. So we'll move to the second round, and I'll move to Mike.
During this summit, we have been made aware of the opportunities and the multi-dimensional challenges of bioeconomy. And we've heard that success will come from deploying the right policies and approaches in a way that is sensitive to the specific circumstances of each country, be them political, environmental, social, and so on. So my question is how to bring bioeconomy thinking and acting into political agendas to foster national development and international cooperation. Minister.
In the case of Argentina, what we did is try to have an interministerial approach, because usually the issues of bioeconomy were compartmentalized between science and technology, agro-industry, production. Now we developed this interministerial program in which all the 3 ministers are present. We are going to incorporate the Minister of Labor and the Minister of Social Development. So now bioeconomy has a different status. And we also incorporated some of the goals of the development in bioeconomy in the national plan. Bioeconomy is also present in our National Science and Technology Plan and the general agenda for the 2030. So I guess we first need to coordinate the activities at the political level. And the other component is that the popularization of the concepts. We need to explain clearly what is the meaning of bioeconomy, what are the positive consequences for the general population, what are also the risks, so the population can take informed decisions. So we have a special program devoted to popularization of science. We have also a TV channel run by our ministry. And we have a special series on bioeconomy It was a kind of road show in which a guy was showing the potential of bioeconomy in the different regions. And that had a positive consequence in terms of the acceptance of bioeconomy as one of the national priorities. I guess this experience can be extrapolated, but then we have to coordinate activities at the international fora, because, as was mentioned before, is increased awareness that bioeconomy is a global issue.